there's a lot of, as you said, a lot of allegations in those reports, both the ESPN report, obviously the Roopstigo report. Without going through all of them, is there anything in there that you would say is actually accurate? Is there anything in there that you would not say is a misconception?
You know, there's going to be some opinion in there that you really can't comment whether it's accurate or not. But as far as the allegations that are very indicting to a university in terms of non-compliance with rules, I can't think of every single allegation in there, but I can say that the majority of the ones, certainly ones that get your attention, as in changing of grades, which is very, very, that's a very bold and that's a very out on a limb accusation, because now you're indicting university professors, a whole university itself, as I said in my statement when I put it out 2 weeks ago, that, to be quite honest, not just for me, but a lot of people, is very offensive. And as the internal investigation unfolded at Auburn, found to be not true. The payment of players is absurd. And the notion that we would pay a player of any way, shape, or form to either come to Auburn or stay at Auburn is absurd. So there's more out there, but I think you get the message.
One of the other ones from Mike McNeil in that report was basically saying that you practiced racism towards black players with tattoos that wore dreadlocks. Any truth to that at all?
Absolutely not. And that's very hurtful. And unfortunately, if that's the way that he saw it, you know, I've been coaching 27 years, and I have never, one time in 27 years, been accused of that. One of the things that I've taken the most pride in being a coach is the rapport with my players and the impact that I've at least tried to have on a lot of their lives. And the last team meeting that I was in at Auburn, when I told them that I was let go, as I walked out the door, there was a standing ovation. And within 3 minutes of the time I got back to my office, the players were lined up all the way down the hall. So I'm only telling you that because that's very hurtful. Why he says that, what the basis is, I don't know. But never in 27 years has one football player ever made that accusation about me.
One of the other accusations in it was, and I think Ms. Roberts' story, she addressed this again today, speaking of a culture of working to cover up in some way the police and some of the things that were going on there. You spoke to that in your statement 3 weeks ago. Have you, in your role as a coach at any time here at Auburn or elsewhere, worked with the local police department or law enforcement to in any way infringe on their process or investigation?
Absolutely not. To the contrary of how I answered that this morning, that there was allegations that we, didn't get back to the family till 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The facts simply state that there was 4 phone calls made starting at 9:01 in the morning for communication. But one of the things that I will make very clear, when there's a police investigation going on, and you don't have all the facts, okay, then you can't interfere with what is going on between the police investigation and the families. So I can 100% tell you that we were in full compliance anytime there was an issue that was regarding the Auburn Police Department. Tommy Dawson has an impeccable record. He was the chief at the time, and there is absolutely no way we would do anything other than fully comply. So I can't tell you why those accusations are made. And matter of fact, I'm not really sure what any of that means or what the insinuation is. I can't even fathom what that means, but I can just tell you in answer to your question, that's never been done by any coach here, including myself.
Gene, with all the accusations that have come out, the spice, the synthetic marijuana, at the time, we know it wasn't legal. We know the NCAA, or was legal. The NCAA didn't have tests for it. You guys didn't have tests for it. Did you ever think that that was something that would turn into be this story 2 years later, that it was an epidemic or whatever it's called?
Never, Mike. And I think that, you know what, let me tell you something. Again, I'm going to talk about the 2 young men that are on trial, basically with a lot at stake for their life. And if this is the defense, I'm not going to stand here and act like I know what it's like to be in their shoes. And I wish things would have turned out differently for them. I wish that. But you've got those accusations as a defense for people that are on trial, basically, again, for a lot of years involved with their life, whether they go to prison or they don't. And the sad thing that I want to make very clear is you cannot take the you can't take 2 people's perception of what they think is a huge problem and indict a whole university, coaches, other players. And again, I'm going to go back to facts, because when we started testing, this notion that 50% of our football team was smoking it, let me tell you this. This is not a performance-enhancing drug. Okay, so let's use a little common sense here. It's a performance-debilitating drug. So if half of our football team is on it during our 2010 national championship run, how are we performing at a level that was the best football team in the country? That doesn't even make sense. And then let me give you some data. When we did start testing, 10% or less of our team tested positive. Was that too many? Yes. But let's keep in mind, you got, on one hand, the drug is illegal, but on the other hand, they can go into the convenience store and still buy it off the shelf. Try telling that one to your children and explain to them, oh yeah, it's illegal, but you can go buy it in the convenience store. So we knew there was issues, and we were aggressive in our approach, and we handled it the way we needed to handle it, and I'm very comfortable with the way we should have done it. But I will say this, 10% or less of your football team at a time when everybody's trying to figure the drug out, because it's widespread, not at Auburn. This wasn't just an Auburn problem. This was a country problem. This was a military. The military's trying to figure it out. The government's trying to figure it out. The NCAA's trying to figure it out. So when we test in the data, not opinion, the data shows less than 10%. That's a far cry from 50. And then let me give you one other compelling fact. Okay? As we went through the year to figure the drug out, trying to change university policy, which was ongoing at the time, once we changed the university policy, we got the test in place the way it needed to be in terms of detailed and revised. Since they started testing, there's been 2,500 random tests with 3 individuals positive for the test. So is that an epidemic? Because I'm not even sure what the word epidemic means. But I know this, if there's 2,500 random tests, 3 individuals test positive, would you like it to be 0? You bet. But in my opinion, if you look at the numbers, it's overwhelming evidence that the transition period of us trying to figure out what the drug was, how to get it under control, educate, test for it, I think the facts say that it was pretty effective.